Shalom, this is your brother Yashamai. Before I get into this message, I want to start out by giving all praises, all glory, and all honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Akwakwedash. I want to give double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, whom will and teach well, of whom I learn from daily. This may end up being a somewhat of a long message, but this is going to show you why the so-called blacks, natives, and Hispanics are the real Israelites, are the real Jewish part of the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, for those on the outside, and I know something, a question that I had, and those on the outside may have, is, well, how are you the Israelites if there are Jewish people over there in the land of Israel? Well, this lesson is going to show you, going through Deuteronomy 28, you should be able to make the decision for yourself through statistics that are on the internet to see if those people line up with the curses, or if those people line up, if those people line up with the curses of the Israelites, or if they line up with, or if they don't. All right, now first thing right off the back is, what are those people over there in Israel? Well, they are Jewish. Now, I want to focus on that ish, because ish denotes the meaning of kind of like. So, for example, you don't call somebody Mexican-ish. You would if they, for example, if a so-called white person dressed up in Dickies pants and put a hairnet on his head, you would say, man, you're kind of dressed Mexican-ish. What do you mean by that? Ish, Mexican-ish, meaning like, okay? So, you don't call a Mexican Mexican-ish because you know he's Mexican. You don't call a black black-ish because you know he's black. You don't call a Chinese a Chinese-ish because you know he's Chinese. So why are they the only people that are called Jewish? Because a Jew, first of all, the word Jew comes from Judah. That is only one of the 12 tribes of Israel. What about the other ones? You know, because there's 12 tribes. So Jewish, the reason they're called Jewish is because they're kind of like them. Okay, now, so how are they kind of like them? They are kind of like them because they just tell you that they are. They have nothing in common with the Israelites. And so Deuteronomy 28 is a book, a chapter that tells you this is going to be how you are when you're cursed, and this is going to be how you are when you're blessed. All right? And all of this happens before the coming of Yahweh Shai too. All right? So the best way for you to think about this is a criminal lineup. When you have a criminal lineup and you're given a description of who to look for, you start to eliminate people through the order of through the process of elimination. If you're looking for a 6'5", blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy, and there's 7 people in that lineup, and 3 of them have black hair, right off the gate, that's not them. And then you start to narrow it down. So Deuteronomy 28, we're going to go through the curses. And we're not going to go through all of it because I'm just going to go through the first couple of them. And if you can't get it, then you can't get it. I mean, and what we're going to do is we're going to read through the curses, and then we're going to look up statistics that you can also go and research on your own and find this on your own and see that what I'm pulling up is correct. So let's start at verse 16. Well, 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh, thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Let's start off with the first one. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. So anywhere that that the Israelites were to go, they were to be cursed. Now, I believe I've got a photo of this. Boom. Now, check this out. This is the income. Well, no. Let's go to 28, 16 and 17. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Okay, so what is your basket? Your basket is what you put your goods in. And what is your store? Your store is your work, your business. So, if we do a quick Google search, and some of these I just took photos of, and the rest of them I still have tabs open, but if you look up black incomes in different countries, in the United States, the median household income for so-called black Americans was $48,000 compared to $74,000 for white households. Okay, white household, a so-called Jew will, when you're filling out an application, there's like 3 boxes. And within those 3 boxes, there are sub-boxes. Those 3 boxes cover a large amount. There's black, there's white, and then there's Hispanic. So-called Jews will fall under white, and so-called Jews come from the descendants of Esau, which are the so-called white men. So, according to here, the first curse, the first 2 verses, Deuteronomy 28, 16 and 17, says that you're going to be cursed wherever you go. Whether you're in America, whether you're in Brazil, whether you're in the city, whether you're in the field, wherever you go, you will not get ahead. So in the U.S., you were making almost half of what those so-called people are making. And it says this gap has been increasing. All right, what about in Brazil? Because you can classify the United States as the city, very densely, highly populated. Brazil and South Africa, you can classify as the field, not as populated. Brazil, the median income for so-called black Brazilians is $5,000 R, which is 58% of the median income for white Brazilians, which is $9,000. In South Africa, check this out, in South Africa, Africans earn about 9% of the median income of whites. Now, we know that the Cushites, the Africans are not Israelites, but we are scattered throughout the continents. We are scattered throughout the 4 corners of the world, and so you so-called blacks are in that area too. But this goes to show that no matter where you look, even in states like Georgia and states like California, Israelites as a nation are always at the bottom. And that lines up exactly with Deuteronomy 28 and 16. So what I also did was I built a chart. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the curses. On the left side shows you the verse. And then we will give 1 point for whichever that one fits them. So 28, 16, and 17 goes to the Israelites, you so-called blacks, natives, and Hispanics. Matter of fact, I've even got it sourced here on Pew. Let me see here. Well, actually, yeah. All of this was based on the Pew Research, which Pew Research, by the way, is like the gold standard for information, for data analyzation. Now check this out. Now you contrast that with the so-called Jays. In 2021, a Pew Research survey found that about half of the Jewish adults in the U.S. reported a household income of at least $100,000. So check this out. Half of you so-called people are making 6 figures. Half of you, which is higher than the percentage of all U.S. households in that level. And we know that to be Esau has the blessing, according to Genesis 27, Esau's blessing was the fatness of the earth. So, do you see the contrast? The curses say that we're going to be broke, and that our baskets are will not be blessed, that our baskets will be cursed. These guys are being blessed all over in the city. And hold on a minute, I fucking hate this shit, dog. I do not. All right. Wow. In Brazil, 1980, the top 25% of the Jewish population had a monthly income of $3,000, which placed them amongst the richest 1% of the general population. Even in another country, they have it. All right? So we're going to go ahead and give a point to verse 16 and 17 to the Israelites. And as you can see, as we go through these curses, they get 0 points. All right? So let's go on to the next one. Verse 18. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind and the flocks of thy sheep. Now the fruit of your body is your kids, right? So let's take a look at how let's take, I think I had this one here. Race, ethnicity, all products, Joe, key takeaways. Race, among Hispanics, those are black parents are less likely. Okay, so this is, again, going back to the Pew research, and this talks about how parents, Asians, blacks, whites, and Hispanics, what their response was to some of these questions. Okay, now, if you take a look at this chart, who leads in their seed being spoiled the most? Whose children, whose fruit of their body has more exposure to being cursed here? Well, according to here, Hispanics reported their kids was struggling with anxiety or depression at 43%. Being bullied, 48%, was Hispanics. Then right behind them was Asians and blacks. Being kidnapped, again, Hispanics. And then right behind them is blacks. Getting beat up or attacked, Hispanics. And then blacks and Asians. Having problems with drugs or alcohol, Hispanics. And then blacks. Getting shot, Hispanics. And then blacks. Getting pregnant, Hispanics, and then blacks. Getting in trouble with the police, Hispanics, and then blacks. So we see that it's the fruit of our body, which are our kids, that our people struggle with the most. And if you look at the whites, they trail dead end last. You know? Check this out. Let me see here. Black parents among Hispanics who are foreign-born. I wanted to show you guys something. 7 in 10 Asian parents feel judged by others for the most part. Being a reward comes to parenting. Here in the raised white parents are the molested. Okay, very good. This is what I wanted to point out here. In reflecting on how they're raising their own children compared with how they were raised, white parents are the most likely to say they are trying to raise their children, the fruit of their body, similarly. About 49% say this, compared with 42% of black parents, 37% of Asians, and 32% of Hispanic parents. Hispanic parents are more likely than white and black parents to say they are trying to raise their children differently. White people raise their kids the same way as they were raised because they have the fatness of the land. See, when they were coming up, they had it good. So in their mind, they want to raise their kids the same way that they were raised, because in their mind, the way that they were raised is how they became successful. You so-called blacks and Hispanics and natives, you guys are trying to, according to this graph, you are trying to raise your kids differently Because why? We want a different outcome. Why do we? So why do we raise them different? Because we tell. And again, some of us do come from bad parenting, but the mentality is, I want my kid to come out. I'm gonna raise my kid different so that he can be successful. So do you see the two differences there? The so-called whites don't want to change anything because they don't need to, and of course they don't. They have the fatness of the earth, but we think that it's the parenting that is what's causing our kids to come out bad. But parenting does have something to do with it, but it's the curses, man. It's the seed. It's the seed. Our seed is being pursued. So, we will tack on a point onto verse 18. Now, let's go down to verse 19. Cursed shall be when thou comest in, and cursed shall be when thou goest out. In Babylon, the final land of our captivity, we see minorities such, again, you so-called blacks, natives, and Hispanics, specifically the lowest. But this scripture says that wherever you go, you will be low. Who is low right now? Who is low right now? Because I showed you guys those photos here. Who is low? According to here, the so-called minorities are low. I find 6 years. Let me see. Now we're about to get into this one next, but who is the lowest, man? Because right now, these people right here at the bottom, these people, they're up. But the so-called blacks, you guys are the lowest. All right? So we'll give a point to on verse 21. Well, no, I don't even think I marked 20. No, I just skipped over 20. Let's get 21. Yeah. 21. Yahweh shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he has consumed thee from off the land, wherever thou go to possess it. Now, what is pestilence? Pestilence is sickness. I'm going to show you. The bear. Plague, cattle diseases. Pestilence. So then, I screenshotted this one. I think this is where I started to keep the tabs open. Here is the life expectancy of people based upon race. Blacks are at the lowest, man. And who is at the highest? The so-called Jays, man. Now I think I sort of have this here. Boom. Bam, right here. This is a pestilence. Roughly 6 in 10 Hispanics adults went without a All right. This is the life expectancy of people. American Indians or American natives, you so-called Gadites and Reubenites, and blacks had a shorter life expectancy compared to white people. And American Indians and American natives, Hispanic and black people experienced larger declines in life expectancy than white people. Black and American Indians and natives were at least 2 times as likely to die as white infants. So again, this also goes back to curse being the fruit of your body. But this is a pestilence because a lot of our people are dying from diabetes. A lot of our people are dying from cystic fibrosis. A lot of our people are dying from the pestilence. But you see, to the contrary, the so-called Jews in Israel, they have a higher life expectancy, man. So you see how they don't line up with the curses, and you see how we line up with the curses? American Indian, American Native, and black children were more than 3 times as likely to have food insecurity. I mean, this is, let me see here. Mortality, the changing, families. Yeah, I think this is where I started. Boom, life expectancy. I think this is where I started to get into bookings. Families make up the, okay. So, that was, that was verse 21. So, according to this little chart that I made here, that point goes, it fits more likely with the so-called blacks, natives, and Hispanics. Now, let's go down to 25. And you guys can read this on your own, but, some of the verses in between just kind of expand on the previous one. So we're going to go to 25. Yahweh shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. It talks about us being looked down upon by others. Everywhere you go, you are looked down upon. Whether you go into a restaurant, people are looking down upon you. They're grabbing their purses. And it says that you shall be smitten before thine enemies. Okay, who are our enemies? The so-called whites. And then it says, you shall go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them. This is talking about how many Black Lives Matter type movements have gone up to try to make a stand. The Black Panther movement, the I Can't Breathe movement, the how about the brown berets for you so-called Hispanics, or how about that Cesar Chavez movement? How many times have our people try to stand up against the enemy, and it just goes away? All right, it always happens. That's us being smitten and fleeing 7 ways because we just cannot get ahead of them, man. Now to comparison, to the contrary, because we've been to split 7 different ways, but to the contrary, the ADL and APAC, they haven't been split 7 different ways. The ADL has been around and has taken over what you can and cannot say. And so has APAC, the American Institute for Public Israel Relations or something like that. Since when they first came up, they've had the same name. They haven't had to come up. They changed their name. They had a different name before. You can look it up, but they changed it now to APAC. But it's been the same. It's been the same movement. So again, you can give verse 25 to you so-called blacks, natives, and Hispanics. So far these people have 0, man, and they're not going to get any because they don't line up. What's the next one? Verse 28. Let's skip down to 28. Yahweh shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. Now, let's look up astonishment, because what does this mean? Astonishment goes into bewilderment or stupefaction. Now let's get stupefaction on the Edom Online. Boom, stupefaction. This is stupefaction, the act of inducing numbness. Noun of action from past participle, in the sense of an insensible state. Okay, stupefy. In a medical sense, to anesthetize, to deaden. Okay, we have been dead to our power. We have been astonished. He hid his face from us. We have been numb. We have become used to just being destroyed. We have become numb to seeing our people on the corners begging. Now it's normal for you to go to a Home Depot and see 57 different so-called Hispanics out there begging for a job. We have been stupefied. And matter of fact, it says an insensible state. Let's get that. Lacking the power to feel with the senses, numb or dazed, void of feeling, not susceptible to emotion or passion, incapable of being felt or perceived. Man, our people, this isn't just talking about us being numb to what we see, but it goes into the blindness and the madness. The blindness here isn't talking about he's going to make a certain group of people just blind. No, it's talking about spiritual blindness, man. We were blinded. We didn't know the true name of Yahweh. You know, we went off and was calling on other gods, man. We didn't even know who we are. We were blinded to who we are as a nation. You know, we were blinded to so-called Mexicans not knowing that they're Israelites. You know, so-called natives not knowing that they're Gadites. You know, blind, but most importantly, blinded to our power, man. So, verse 28 goes to so-called blacks, natives, and Hispanics, because when were they blinded? When were the so-called Jews blinded? When were they made numb? They never were. When did their power get taken away? It never happened, man. It never happened. So let's go on to, I think we're at 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropes in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Groping at noonday is talking about, in the heat of your work, you're groping, and we fail, man. I mean, Jacob tries to stand up, man, but man, we can't. It's very difficult for us to get a leg up. Check this out. When it comes to businesses, white, non-Hispanic families make up the lion's share of business ownerships in the U.S. In 2019, 80% of business owning families were white, compared to 5% of black and non-Hispanic, man. So the pink shows you, and again, the white includes the so-called fake Jews, but the pink shows you, who owns the most businesses. That's us groping. Because why are we groping in the noonday? Because we're building somebody else's kingdom, man. I drive through these rich neighborhoods in Atlanta sometimes during work, and I see kings landscaping the mansions of Edomites, and I'm like, it's just so fucking sickening, man. Because they truly are the basis of people, man. We lead in Jacob in his business fails, man. I think I've got another tab here. Let me see here. No, let's pull it up here. Business failures based on ethnicity. The Kaufman compilation research on race and entrepreneurship. Black-owned and Hispanic-owned firms have a higher failure rates than do white-owned and Asian firms, man. The Bureau of Labor Statistics consistently reports a third of new businesses close within the first 2 years and half exit within the first 5 years. For black businesses, the margin is even slimmer. 8 out of 10 black-owned businesses fail within the first 18 months, man. This is talking about us. Y'all shall grope at noonday as the blind gropes in darkness. You just can't catch a break. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. Thou shalt only be oppressed and spoiled. We are only oppressed because we are always having to work for somebody. We might get ahead for a little bit, but our businesses fail, man, and I'm living proof of that, man. We are and then to the contrary, who has the longest standing businesses, man? You will see, if it amazes me, or it used to amaze me, how there could be a so-called white roofing company owner for 30 years who doesn't know shit about roofing, But you will have 35 different Hispanic roofing crews that will never get that big. Why? Because it's the curses, man. Why is Chipotle owned by a so-called white person, but he sells Mexican food? Why can't it be a so-called Mexican? Why? Because it's the curses. We grope at noonday. We are oppressed. We cannot get ahead. And when we do, we fail. These are statistics, man. So, that what verse was that? That was verse 29. 29 goes to you blacks, natives, and Hispanics. Let's go to 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and thou shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Now, let's look at the divorce rates, man. Boom, boom. Well, that's the contrary. Check this out. The divorce rate of blacks. Black Americans have a higher divorce rate than any other races, man. Black Americans have the highest divorce rate of any other race. 30 divorces per 1,000. This is higher than Hispanic, which is 18, and higher than whites at 15, man. So for every 3 marriages, our marriages are failing. And a lot of that is due to infidelity, man. Again, goes right back onto this. You shall betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her, because it's talking about adultery. And divorce is adultery, because once a man sleeps with the wife and the wife goes somewhere else, that's adultery unless that man is dead. Now, let's go to the contrary. This is why you are not the people. This is the Jewish link. What a statistic. This is this dude, Dr. Yasha Shitter, a clinical psychologist and director of Who Gives a Fuck, that reveals that the overall divorce rate in American Orthodox community appears to be around 10%. So it can't be them. It doesn't line up with them. So again, we will give verse 30 as a point to you blacks, natives, and Hispanics, man. Matter of fact, if we go into it, there's another study. I think I had clicked on it already. There was I think this was it. Look at this. How does race impact marriage and divorce? 30% 30 divorces per 1,000 people. Hispanics right there, 18.5, and whites are 15. The other guy was talking about 10, man. And check this out. There was it goes down to the reasons too, and the reasons was like infidelity. Watch, check this out. Black divorce rate is the highest. People who marry. You guys can look all these statistics up, but what are the most common reasons for marriages? What are the most common reasons for divorce? Lack of commitment and infidelity, man. Lines right up, man. Verse 30, man. Okay? So what's the next one? 31 to I think 32. 31, 32. Yeah, 31. 31 is, thy ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and thou shalt not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies. What is this talking about? It's talking about that as we are being destroyed, it says, your ox shall be slain before you. Any kind of hope that we have to get ahead is being taken from us. As we lay being destroyed, we see our money being sent to all of the other heathen nations. Man, I think I even got a tab up on that. Embassy of Israel. How much money does America send Israel? In February 2022, the U.S. had provided Israel $150 billion, man. I mean, Israel has been the leading recipient of the U.S. foreign aid. So you don't line up with it because you're getting the most money. Your ox isn't being slain in front of you. To the contrary, they're sending you oxes. In the meantime, you so-called blacks, natives, and Hispanics, you're being destroyed, laid desolate, and they're sending your money across to other heathen nations too. Not just Amalek. So that point goes to you so-called blacks, natives, and Hispanics. I think I got 3 more verses. 32 and 33. Your sons and your daughters shall be given unto another people, and your eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long. And there shall be no might in thine hand. This is talking about slavery, man. When they brought you guys over here, you so-called blacks. When they separated you and your families, man. And even now, to you so-called Mexicans that are coming over here and they're separating your daughters and your kids at the border, man. And then, verse 33 talks about you natives. The fruit of your land and all your labor shall a nation which you know not eat up. They took your shit. The northern kingdom was here in America first, but the so-called white man came and took your shit. Took the fruit of your land. And you shall be only oppressed and crushed away, man. They took your land, and then Columbus took your land, and then America, after America was made, they led you away and took more of it through the Trail of Tears, man. When did this happen to you guys? To the contrary, you stole the land which you possessed through man-made laws, man. So 32 and 33 goes to you blacks, natives, and Hispanics, man. Let's get 36. What's 36? Yahweh shall bring you and thy king, which you shall set over thee, unto a nation which thou neither thou or your fathers have known, and there you shall serve other gods, wood and stone. This is talking about This is talking about, again, slavery. And then it's talking about the Christian crusades here, where you were made to serve the white image, man. In the slave houses where you were given that slave Bible, man, where we had to worship their images, where they gave you a cross and said, pray to white Jesus, while this white man takes your wife in the back and brutally rapes her, man, while your kids watched, man. When did the so-called when did the so-called Jewish people have to deal with this, man? When were they given false gods of wood and stone? When did that happen? I'll wait. It never, man. It never happened. So verse 36, that's a point for you blacks, natives, and Hispanics. Now let's end it with 43 and 44. Well, let's get 37 too, because check out 37. That shall become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations. Everywhere we go, again, man, we are looked down as trash. Spics, wetbacks, the N-word. They call us slur. Again, man, call you every name, man. No matter where you go, even in the UK, man, our people are pushing just stupidity, pushing pork, pushing rap, sagging pants, guns, violence. Man, we have really become a byword. When did they become a byword? When all over is it a bad thing to be called a Jew? To the contrary, man. If somebody says that, if you hear, this guy's a Jewish person, man, you right away think, man, well, this motherfucker's got money. He must be a lawyer or a doctor. Now, let me ask you, what do you think if you got a daughter, all right? What do you think if you had a daughter and your daughter says, I want to introduce you to my Jewish boyfriend? Well, he probably got money. How about I want to introduce you to my black or Mexican boyfriend? This motherfucker's probably a gangbanger, probably selling a byword, man. We have become something that people despise, man. 43 and I think 42 and 43. 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. he shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Who's lending right now, man? Who owns the banks? Come on now. Do you see so-called blacks and Hispanics and natives owning banks? You know, Secretary Yellen. You know, she's in charge of the monetary policy here. She's lending, man. Again, you guys, we go through these curses because it tells you the Israelites this will happen to all of the Israelites, and we just went through it, and it shows you that those people don't line up. So who lines up with it? You so-called blacks, natives, and Hispanics, man. Take a look at this chart, man. They got no points, because even when they were getting close to possibly getting some points, it fit more with the Israelites, man. It fit more with the Israelites, man. Check I'm gonna show three more scriptures, man, and we're gonna end it. This is your blessing. This is the blessing of the so-called Jews, the so-called white man. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of heaven from above. Their blessing was that they were going to get everything given to them. Like, let me pose another question. We, as the true Israelites, blacks, natives, and Hispanics, we are waiting for salvation. Why? Because you see, we are destroyed in business. We're destroyed financially. We're destroyed. Our seed is destroyed. We are a byword. So we wait for Yahushua to return. What are you waiting for? What is your salvation? Because we just went through all these statistics, and this is your heaven. This is your rulership. You're the richest person. You got the best marriages. You got the best of the land. I mean, this is your rulership, man. So what are you waiting for? You don't line up. You actually line up with being the devil, man. Isaiah 14, go and check it out. So, let's end it with a couple scriptures here, man. Because, let's get Jeremiah 23:3. So how did they get there? Because according to Jeremiah 23:3, it reads as follows. I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all the countries whether I have driven them, and I will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. So, when did the Most High gather those so-called Jewish people and take them and put them in Israel? He never did. How did they get there? Through the Balfour Declaration. They got into that land. Through the law. The strength of their law, man. Wisdom of Solomon 2. All right, because matter of fact, this is how we, the true Israelites, are going to go into that land. The day, almost had it right there. The day come where they will say, God delivered from the land of the north. Boom. Jeremiah 16. Yeah, let's check it out. Therefore, behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that it shall be no more said that Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them, and I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. So what this is saying is, just as you know that great story of our exodus from Egypt, you know, where the sea was split. This is saying they're not going to mention that day anymore. He's going to come back and bring us all together, and he's going to take us to the land of Israel, and that's going to be the new story. That's how we're going to be remembered. And that's not how you were taken into the land, man. The way that you are in that land is through infamy, through the Balfour Declaration, man. All right? And all of this is prophecy according to Zechariah 9 and 6. A bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. Who's the bastard? The bastard is Esau. And where is Ashdod? Let me see. Where is Ashdod today? The brother Radad did a badass message. Look at Ashdod. A bastard shall dwell in Ashdod. Wow. There you go. So, again, you don't line up with it, man. You so-called blacks, natives, and Hispanics, you are the true Hebrew Israelites, man. All right? You were never gathered together by the Most High and put there. All right? I hope this lesson has been edifying. I know I skipped quite a bit of curses, man, but fuck, man, if you can't get it, if you can't see this and see the statistics, then you're just a fucking idiot, or you just weren't meant to get it, man. And I say that very nicely. So with that, I say shalom.